Hello everyone, my name is Abby and I am the Young Adult Assistant for the Twin Lakes Library System and I use she, her pronouns. So today for Must Read Monday, I decided I kind of wanted to do something a little different and I actually wanted to talk about a specific series that I really love. So that is going to be the Illuminae Files by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. So what I am going to do is kind of give a little summary for each of the books and then at the end I'll explain why I really love this series. So this series is available in our physical collection and it's also available on Libby. You can check out the audiobook or the ebook on Libby. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. So the first book in the Illuminae Files is Illuminae. And this book follows Katie and Ezra, and they are formerly a couple, but the day they break up, their planet is invaded. So this takes place in the future, the year 2575, and basically it's following two rival corporations at war with each other over this planet that Katie and Ezra are both living on during that time. And they are not speaking to each other. Of course, they've broken up, and they are then forced to get on this giant warship to avoid being killed. But that's kind of just the starting point. As they are living on this ship, there is a plague breaking out, and it has pretty terrifying results, kind of zombie-esque, and the AI on the warship might not be exactly what it seems, and Katie, who is an excellent hacker, starts hacking to sort of figure out what's going on, and she finds out that things are a lot more complicated than she originally assumed, and she sort of has to team up with Ezra to solve everything and fix everything. So that's just a little brief summary of the first book. And the second book, just so you are aware, these books each follow different main characters, so you're not really being spoiled if I sort of give a little summary of each of them. You shouldn't read them out of order or read one without reading the other, because there is important information that follows up, but the main storyline, you can sort of know what happens in each, which is nice. So in the second book, we follow Hannah and Nick, and Hannah is the station captain's daughter, and Nick is the member of a crime family on the space station, and they, because of some things that happened in the last book, are in danger, and so they don't know that, of course, but they sort of start to endure the same things that Katie and Ezra endure in the first book, and they are sort of an unlikely duo that's sort of stuck to defend the ship and their home and the space station and all the people on it, and while also dealing with that, there's an alien predators that are on the spaceship that they sort of have to deal with as a result of some things that Nick's family is responsible for. And then there's also a wormhole that could rip the space station in part and kill everyone. So a lot of pressure that they have to deal with. They're actually probably my favorite duo in the series, but that's for later. And then the last book, oh, I forgot to show you, this is Gemina. And then the third book is Obsidio. Very cool covers. I really like them. That's why I picked them out originally to read. So some things that tie into the last two books come into play for this, so I'm not going to say anything about that, but you follow these new characters which is Asha, who is actually Katie's cousin, and Reese, who is an old flame from Asha's past. They are on the Carenza sort of area, and they are kind of opposite sides of the conflict, so they are sort of having to deal with understanding that they've both chosen different sides that the other one does not agree with necessarily, and sort of the combination of everything that's been happening in the whole series kind of comes to the most intense peak in this book. So yeah, so that's just a brief little summary. I don't want to give too much away because that one does a lot more have stuff that comes into play from the first two books. So just why I love this series. First off, I highly recommend the audiobooks for this series. So what's cool about this is, yes, it looks pretty chunky. This one's like just one page underneath 600, but the way it's told is in like cool format settings, like files and stuff. So that's like, it's a lot faster than you would normally assume, which is good because it's kind of like watching a science fiction movie or listening to a science fiction movie. But the audiobook has a full cast ensemble and special effects and sound effects, which is really, really cool, and it makes the reading experience a lot more interesting. And they really took these, like, I'm trying to find a good page that has, okay, let me see. Yeah, like, this page is just black, and then it has, like, some words down there, but the audiobook, like, takes that format and makes it sound really cool, and it does that with all of them, and each new, like, main pairing has a new, like, voice actor, and, voice, it's very cool. It's very cool. It's basically watching a movie, which I really enjoyed. I think the characters are all really, really awesome. They're all really interesting to follow. They're all kind of a little morally gray, which is interesting. They're not like your clear-cut heroes. They're definitely like a little more intense and complex, which is really cool. And it makes for a compelling read for each of these because, each book you're introduced to a new main pair and you've gotten used to the one before. So you're like, oh, am I going to like this pairing as much as I like the last one? The answer is yes. You always like the pairing. My personal favorite is Nick and Hannah. I think that they're the most compelling out of the three couples, but I also really love Ezra and Katie and Asha and Reese. I think they're all great leads to follow. I also think what's good about this series is that, if you're not really into science fiction, it's pretty, I think it's pretty welcoming. I'm not a big sci-fi reader. I don't really love science fiction, but I think that this is a good starting off series, especially because I really think that the audiobook changes it. It helps you sort of adapt to it a little bit better. But yeah, so that's cool. And then, what's the last thing? I think the villain of this series, I say villain, very complex. The villain of the series is one of my favorite I've ever read. I love it. I think it's such a cool villain, and it's compelling, and the story that they do for it is just like, I don't know even how to explain it properly, but it's really good. And like the way that they adapt it and keep going and write it as it goes through each book is like really fascinating, and they don't just leave it like flat. They make it very three-dimensional, and you're gonna start to ask yourself if you're supporting the villain in this whole book. So those are the three books that I wanted to talk about today, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.